Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome back, Clone Club, to another AfterBuzz after show for Orphan Black. This is Season 3, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Season 3.
Yeah, just one more week.
Insolvent Phantom of Tomorrow.
How cool of a title is that?
It's part of an Eisenhower quote, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when this is all done, I'm going to have to watch that entire Eisenhower speech, and I will have a new feelings on this whole season. I am Will Link. With me, as always, Megan Salinas.
Hey, everybody.
And Anna Koppel.
Hey, guys. Sorry in advance.
And she's coming to this with a lot of paranoia today, it seems.
I've been allergic all day. There's been snot just like pouring from my face, and I didn't brush my hair today. I don't know.
So if you're listening to this on iTunes, you might want to go over to the YouTube thing, because you will be able to see the snot dripping. Oh, look, things are going great already.
Yeah, we're off to an awesome start.
So this episode, for me, it was a little bit of after the last four, which I think are some of the best Orphan Black episodes yet. This one for me was a little plodding, particularly with the Sarah stuff. I wasn't feeling the Sarah stuff in this episode as much as maybe some other people, but I loved all the Delphine and Helena stuff in this episode.
Those moments were intense.
Yeah, they made this episode for me.
They were really good. I hear what you're saying in terms of not necessarily being as good as the last four, which were just, white knuckle, really suspenseful. Everything has you on the edge of your seat. This one slowed down a little bit because Rachel's already gotten away and everything like that. So the tension had pulled back a little bit. That being said, I still think this was a really solid episode, and we got some answers.
Yeah.
Which is so rare on this show.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I say that about some of the Sarah stuff I wasn't feeling as much this week. The worst episode of Orphan Black is still better than 90% of what I could be watching on television. And this is far from the worst episode of the show. Like I said, I just felt like it was a little, there was some extra. I felt a little drawn out to get to the Castor original. It seemed like a lot of steps between meeting this bloody guy, going into a cab, It felt like we could have gotten there a little quicker, but maybe I'm being picky. What did you think?
That's our job, to be picky. But I want to say, Will, I just would like to acknowledge I liked Delphine more in this episode and trusted her more in this episode than ever before. Ever.
I have never liked Delphine more than I like her now. And I know that might upset some Shay fans, but oh man, she's been badass this season, but this was her most badass.
Yeah, I could definitely make or see the argument for why this episode would be the episode to fall off the Delphine wagon, but I'm all about her right now.
Are you feeling Delphine, Megan?
On the one hand, I'm a little upset that I was wrong. I don't like being wrong because I was suspecting Shay of being. I even said on another after show with the same actress in that show, I was like, I watch Orphan Black and I don't trust her character there. She's super shady. So now I feel like I've got my foot in my mouth because it turns out all this time that she was trustworthy, or so we would think.
Yeah, I'm not willing to say that she's still not keeping some secret, but she's not the Castor mole.
She's not the culprit in this particular circumstance.
Before we get into the specifics of the episode, which we'll start in a second, I just wanted to let everyone know, we've been telling you each week about this survey that you guys have been great enough to take, because we love hearing from you. So, keep sending your tweets and comments, and take that listener survey at podcast1.com. Your responses will help us to make this show the very best it can be. It only takes about 3 minutes of your time, and you'll get the instant gratification that comes with knowing you helped us out. This is a pretty general survey about podcasts, so don't necessarily be looking for an Orphan Black specific thing, because I've gotten some questions. I've gotten some people tweet at me like, "Oh, is it?" No, it's just go to the site, take the survey. It'll help us out. Podcast1.com. That's podcast1.com. So, yes. So, anyway.
Yeah, speaking of tweets and comments, we're keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTV Orphan Black, so feel free to tweet at us during the show. And every now and then we can keep an eye on the live chat, too, although that's a little harder without, a computer with us.
That's true.
And as long as we're talking about this, guys, we're going to talk about the show in a second, but we got an email this week from a listener, Lyndon. Lyndon writes, "Hello, people of AfterBuzz. I'm Lyndon, a London viewer of both AfterBuzz TV and Orphan Black. I stumbled across your channel during a weekend of binge watching everything the search engine kicked back for Orphan Black interview. I'd finished all of the content on Netflix and was fiending, I admit it. I enjoy the detail you guys go into with each episode and hearing a variety of theories and opinions on a scene/incident. Anyway, I noticed a small goof in the most recent episode that is perhaps due to me being from London, or maybe just a huge pedant. The scenes with Sarah and Felix taking the taxi under the guise of Shaban, etc., made the small mistake of leaving the taxi light at the front of the cab. That light is only on if or when the vehicle is for hire and is switched off as soon as passengers are inside. There's no way a taxi driver would overlook something like that. Just thought I'd share. Anyone else notice that, or just me? Keep up the good work anyhow. Peace." So, Lyndon, thank you so much for sending that.
Yeah.
And Lyndon wrote into info@afterbuzztv.com. You can always write to us there. You can write to any of our emails. It's usually our first name dot last name at afterbuzztv.com. We love hearing from you. Obviously, we love the feedback. I did not catch that detail.
Nope.
So, so thank you for that. And please keep the feedback coming. We love this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we actually have some more comments on iTunes as well, but I'm sure we can get to that a little later.
Okay, well, let's then get into what Sarah and Mrs. S and Felix are up to being in London. I felt like the beginning of this episode, and although, like I said, maybe I'm complaining like it took a little while to get to the cast or clone stuff, it was fun to see Mrs. S in her element, meeting up with her old crew, her old band, literally getting the band back together.
Yeah.
And because this season we've gotten the most Mrs. S backstory, and we've got to see her, different sides of her, and I feel like, we earned a little bit of a break for her and to see some of this stuff. And it was fun.
Yeah, no, a lot of the stuff this season has been so intense and so dark that it was really nice to see a little bit of levity and just see kind of a group of people reminisce about the good old days. Going back to fight the good fight and everything like that. It was nice to see them smile.
Yeah. Have some laughs and see Maria Doyle Kennedy sing.
It was also really fun for Sarah and Felix to learn this about Mrs. S, to see them what? It's like when you learn that your mom smoked pot in her day, You're like, what? I didn't know you were cool. That's awesome. So it was a lot of fun for them.
You broke rules? You were a troublemaker? What?
Yeah.
And you could tell the way she played it, there was this bit of embarrassment/joy of them knowing this stuff. Right. it makes her, it does make her seem cool, but also it's like, oh, these are my kids, basically. So It was great. And you get a little more glimpse into, they had we knew from last season with the bird watchers, stuff there was quite an underground network going on, but we get to meet some of these colorful characters like Terry, who things don't work out for Terry.
Guy. Yeah. Jeez. That was dark. But I will say it was because we haven't really had, a whole lot of details about Mrs. S and her backstory prior to this season, every time Mrs. S has gone to somebody, it's backfired on them. So it was actually a nice change to see somebody stay loyal to the very bitter end.
Yeah, I mean, he did not give up the name, and he got the information too, because we find out that those numbers that we were talking about last week, they were like a prisoner ID.
Right.
And he found out the truth, and of course, that's kept from us a little bit for a while, because he runs into Ferdinand. Ferdinand came back.
I knew he would.
I didn't think he would.
I said he would.
You did. You called that one.
I win that one prediction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ferdinand did return, and still working for Topside. And I guess this is a total... We've dealt with Castor so much, it took me a second to realize, oh wait, Ferdinand has nothing to do with Castor. He's all Topside. Mm-hmm. And I guess they were just keeping an eye on whether the clones were coming into... I'm not exactly necessarily sure, unless they were keeping an eye on Mrs. S also, how they knew that Sarah was there. Because Terry didn't tip him off like he said he would. So, was that how they...
It's hard to say, because Topside, we don't know how much Topside actually knows, because Topside oversees both Castor and Lita, if I'm correct, right?
No, isn't
I don't know.
Castor all military?
I don't know. I just assumed Topside was... responsible for both, and was just like, here, go figure something out, both of you guys. We'll see what happens.
When you have so many shadowy corporate and or government organizations
it's
dealing
really
with it,
hard
they blend
to keep
together.
track of them.
Have you guys ever been on a website called theyrule.net?
No.
Okay, I highly recommend everybody goes, and it shows you how there are 7 corporations that run the world. They have their hands in everything. So it wouldn't surprise me if Topside was running both of them and many other...
Many other things.
And also Pepsi or something.
Disney is Topside.
Disney's cloning.
Yeah.
I sense a prediction in that, actually. That sounds pretty good. That maybe there is a Topside Castor reveal before the end of this.
We know for sure that... that definitely Lita and Dyad has to answer to Topside. But we know that Castor ultimately is answering to somebody too. Whether or not that's the same entity, it's kind of hard to tell.
I assumed it's the government that Castor's answering to. I don't want to say the Pentagon because that's American, whatever the Canadian equivalent of that would be.
Well, some people have said that it is the American military. If you go back,
some people have. It's so funny because I've noticed on some message boards, seems like after every episode there's a debate about whether this is
military.
Is this Canada or America? And it seems like, and I like that the creators always kind of just. But I mean, the characters on the show use Canadian money, so I just assume everything's Canadian.
Sure. But yeah, no, this guy coming back, because the last time we saw him, he was literally trying to murder all of Clone Club.
Yeah.
That was not cool, with the exception of Rachel, I suppose.
And Delphine had leverage over him, but now that Sarah's in town, Sarah, who's supposed to be locked up, now the tables have turned, and Ferdinand has some leverage over Delphine. So I don't know how he's going to use that. I don't know what he's going to want, because I'm assuming the plan it's not like he could be like, I want to go back to my plan to murder the clones.
I was going to say, you know what? Rachel actually might have gotten in contact with him. Ooh. They were having kind of an affair type thing going on, and she's free now. She might have contacted him to give him a heads up, like, hey, they're going to be heading to London at some point.
But Rachel doesn't know they were heading to London. I guess she could extrapolate because she translated
it. She was the one that told them. She was the one that translated the message for them. She's a smart person, even though she's still going through therapy. She's not an idiot.
Yeah. Well,
she wouldn't have been able to orchestrate this.
That's another good prediction, that Rachel is still in league with Ferdinand there.
That's the only reason why I would think that he would be there in London, unless they have a trace on Mrs. S and Felix and Sarah just as is.
I assume that they all have tracking devices. I mean, you know how you chip your dog or whatever? I assume they all have that.
Well, it's also possible that if they actually used their actual visas and passports to just travel to London, that,
That's stupid.
That's a paper trail.
Yeah.
So you'd have to use fake IDs of some sort, fake identification.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that's glossed over in this episode. Whether they're going over there under assumed names or anything like that, because Mrs. S is always super careful with everything, so I'd imagine it wasn't just like her heading back to... Look, I assume she's wanted in England
Like,
for something.
Lots and lots of states. But yeah, I would assume that because they know what they're doing, they've been doing it for so long, Mrs. S and all her crew, that the only way Ferdinand would know to be in London at that time is if either something else suspicious was going on at the same time, and or if Rachel tipped him off.
It's possible that maybe she didn't even tip him off to the point of that Sarah's coming there. It could be possible Rachel tipped Ferdinand off to what
London.
the translation was of what she gave, and gave that number, and maybe Ferdinand's also. Because when the episode, jumping ahead, when the episode ends, there's someone waiting outside. Felix texts like there are like people here, like we gotta go. There is somebody waiting outside the apartment that they're all in. Well, okay, so we have this great fun that's ruined by the death of Terry, and he whispers something to Mrs. S, and she's like, we're going home, we're not going after the caster, which I took more is that she was obviously still going to look, but she didn't want Sarah and Felix to know the truth. But of course, Sarah, can never leave well enough alone. Not that she should. And she gets Terry's cell phone, calls a number, and it leads to... And this is what I mean by kind of the plotting of the episode. It's all, to me, just filler leading up to when they get to that apartment. We don't really learn too much, unless I'm mistaken, in between that.
They can't just magically figure out and show up at the apartment. It's, you have to take certain steps to get to that point. I was okay with it. I liked the mystery. I like murder mysteries, so I liked kind of having to take those steps through the streets of London and hanging out at the London pub. And maybe you found the pacing didn't really work. I thought the payoff was great.
The payoff, I like the payoff. I think I was just so in love with the other stuff going on in the episode. Maybe when we got back to Sarah's in a cab now, I'm like, eh. And like I said, not the beginning stuff where Maria Doyle Kennedy's singing and stuff like that. That was, I think, earned fun. It was more the...
It was a great editing sequence, too, just cutting back
to
and
the
forth.
beating, yeah.
Yeah.
But we get to this house, and Sarah breaks in, and she's looking for Kendall Malone, and Kendall Malone is a feisty older British woman, comes out with a knife.
Get out of my house!
Yeah. And she wasn't expecting an old lady coming out of the shadows.
Yeah, because it's the caster DNA, or caster original that they're looking for, so it would have to be a guy.
Yeah.
And so, of course, seeing an old lady there, it's not at all what Sarah was expecting.
And she basically, she backs Sarah into a corner. Sarah pulls a gun, and then who walks through the door? Mrs. S. And Mrs. S, we find out a big twist, I guess, a big reveal. Kendall is Mrs. S's mother.
Dun, dun, dun!
And not only that...
Well, not only that. I was going to address this one first, but yeah, not only that, she is both the caster and leader.
I knew it!
Well, because the donor would be the same?
Well, I thought originally because it was one of the questions that I had was Caster and Lita. I was like, is it possible that they could come from the same person? And I was immediately dismissed because it's like, no, it has to be male DNA, it has to be female DNA. And so I just kind of shrugged. I was like, okay, I guess I'm wrong. Ha! Same person, kind of.
You were right.
But not scientifically speaking.
You are the closest thing on this panel to a geneticist.
That's really sad. But we have tons of people in the hashtag on Twitter talking about this. Talking about this reveal. Jamie Willis Rose is asking, do Mrs. S and the clones share DNA? If yes, implications. If not, why?
Yeah, that was my question. Are Sarah and Mrs. S sisters now? What's the deal?
That's exactly what Nikki D on Twitter is also wondering. Are they sisters instead of mother and daughter? Yeah. And then Alicia Perez also asking, so if Mrs. S's mom is both Lita and Castor Originals, does that mean Mrs. S and Sarah are actually related now? The answer to all of these questions, I believe, is yes.
Yeah, no, it has to be, because if it's the same DNA.
Okay, so if that's the case, Mrs. S didn't just end up with one of the clones that her mother donated the DNA for.
Well, this is stuff that worries me. I wonder how. I hope it's what the conspiracy is, that because it seems too convenient.
Right. I mean, unless London is just like infested with Lita clones, who knows? But yeah, it seems way too convenient. So how much does she know? For how long?
She, on the one hand, it makes complete and total sense, and it's not that far of a leap. It is convenient in one respect, but we know very, very little about Mrs. S's backstory, so it's conceivable that she found out about this, and that's why it was so important for her to get Sarah.
Well, isn't it always been said that they were brought to Mrs. S?
So if Mrs. S didn't know, then that means that somebody else did know and brought Sarah to Mrs. S because of that reason, because of that connection.
And wanted this to eventually all get figured out one day. Yeah.
Maybe.
Carlton, right? That was the guy who was moving around, the guy who Mrs. S used to hook up with.
Sure.
Right? That was his name? Okay, well, thanks.
Well, no, he was the guy that brought Sarah to Mrs.
Yeah,
S.
so maybe he knew more.
He said he was just the one that tracked her down. So he didn't see, like, I feel like if he really knew as much as all of that, he would have reacted very differently upon meeting Sarah Manning as an adult. I feel like somebody else who knew hired him and asked him to track down Sarah Manning. I don't know. That's all I got, guys. He's dead now.
No, different guy.
No, different guy?
We're talking about a different guy.
You're not talking about the cab driver?
No, we were talking about
the guy who's beaten up, right?
No, we were talking about the guy. The guy in the guy who originally brought Sarah to Mrs. S.
Oh, one of her birds?
Carlton. Remember the guy she hooked up with last season? She saw him at the bar.
I don't know. Guys, tweet us. I don't know. Please tweet us.
That's the guy who brought them to, and we're saying that.
Well, I thought in this, I remember that guy.
Oh no, but that guy also said that he was tracking Sarah around.
Yeah, he said that he had to track Sarah Manning down for all this and was part of this network.
Okay, it's a network of people.
How many people are? How big is this web? I don't understand. How many people are involved in this conspiracy?
Well, let's get back to Kendall here. And Kendall had absorbed a male twin in the womb, and Duncan, when she was in prison, Duncan had tested her, found this out, and decided to use her for both. So that's where the science comes into play in this.
People who absorb their own twins are terrifying.
And this woman was terrifying.
Yeah,
I gotta say, so does that mean this is what Sarah's gonna look like when she grows up? Or when she gets older?
Oh, I guess it could look like her, yeah. I mean, Mrs. S has a different mother. No, different father. Oh, my God. Mrs. S has a different father, so she won't look like Mrs. S, but she should look just like this Kendall, which, I mean, all apologies to Kendall, but it looks like Sarah's going to hit a wall at some point.
Well, that's got to be really weird for Mrs. S then, because she clearly didn't have a very good relationship with her mother. That has to be really weird, raising somebody who, as an adult, looks like your mom when you were a kid.
She still wanted to kill her mother in this episode, Mrs. S. She was going to kill the mother, blow up death, and the only thing that kept her from it is the fact that it's Lita too, and probably could help, Cosima and the rest of the clones.
I'm confused as to why that didn't occur to Mrs. S, because, oh my gosh, Cosima is still sick. It's very possible for Allison to get sick, and Crystal and Rachel, basically all the other clones, it's very possible for them all to get sick. Sarah and Helena are the only ones who are risk-free when it comes to that. So why?
Probably a lot of emotion about seeing her mother, who she clearly hates, and also she, Mrs. S is on a mission to stop the Castor people. So in her head right away, it was like, we got to think.
Okay, but I have a question. First of all, I would like to thank Hannah Fitz for letting us know that Carlton is the one who hooked up with Mrs. S. Thank you very much. We love it that you have the information that we so desperately lack.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute. But okay, can we agree that Mrs. S obviously knows more about this than she's been letting on?
Yeah, this entire time.
The entire time. And
we can't agree on that, but go on.
okay, well, I am just going to say she's known. So that sort of begs the question for me, like, why has she been so resistant to Helena? Why has she been resisting Sarah wanting to help her sisters? What has that been all about? Or does she know that it's a way more dangerous conspiracy than Sarah's aware of?
I think that she knows it's a dangerous conspiracy, but I don't think she knows anything about the conspiracy. I don't think she's keeping secrets, Mrs. S. I think she's learning things along the way, too. I think this came to a shock to her. So I don't think she knows more. That's just me.
I don't know. Like, again, I know that I said I was wrong about Shay, but I still don't trust anyone, and I don't trust anyone 100%. You have to go about this like Miss Marple. Miss Marple in Christie novels always assumes that everyone is lying, and that's how she's able to deduce the truth. So I kind of have to go with that. I can't really assume that anyone is fully telling the truth about anything.
See, Mrs. S has already had a big betrayal with the Helena thing, and I feel like for her to find out they know more would irrevocably ruin Mrs. S's relationship with Sarah and Felix and everyone at this point. I really don't think that's the case. I think that she like I said, look, her whole life has basically seemed to have been dealing with conspiracies here. So she definitely knows there's something deeper, but I don't think she knows any specifics.
If there's anything Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has taught me, it's that secrets have secrets and secrets and more secrets, and every time you think somebody has finally told you the truth and been given you full disclosure, you are wrong.
Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone.
Exactly.
Our secrets keep us sick. What else? What else can we say about that?
Well, you mentioned Shay, and I mean, that's pretty much where the Sarah storyline ends. So let's get to the Shay stuff, because I loved this stuff.
Stuff was dark.
Now,
I like the way she says huevos.
Yeah. Huevos rancheros.
Now, here's the thing. We were like, Shay is the mole. We had seen in the previews her in the military thing, which still is something that Shay has to answer for. But the second that Cosima looked at that stuff right in her first scene of the episode, I'm like, it's not going to be Shay, because it's too easy. It's like in an episode of Law and Order. It's never the first person they run down. So I'm like, like if she had looked at that halfway through the episode, I might have been like, they're going to get. But the second it was like, then I immediately was like, we're going to be wrong.
Shout out to the Uber fan for staying super loyal to Ksenia Solo, because we were all like, it's obviously Shay. Obviously. Like the whole internet was like, duh, it's Shay. And the Uber
they basically said so, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She stayed strong and loyal, so good for you, girl.
But the Uber fan must admit there are still questions we need to know about Shay. That Shay might not be completely clean.
Well, probably not, but.
And, well, it's funny because I've been tweeting with the Uber fan, and Uber fan's so on Team Shay, it seems like, and I am so on Team Delphine. So I feel like both of us are bringing extra emotion to this discussion each week.
And here I am in the middle going, I don't know if I can trust either of them.
Well, Cosima decides to put her trust in Delphine, which is something, quite frankly, she should have done 4 or 5 episodes ago. And she goes to Delphine, she's like, after talking to Scott first and kind of replaying things in her head, like, she saw the book, and she asked about Sarah.
Oh, what an idiot.
And Rudy knew I was sick. How could he have known this? If not, Shay knows I'm having a relapse. So she goes to Delphine, and Delphine is so badass. Even the way she swivels around in her chair, like, you've come for me
like a
for
Bond
help.
villain,
Yeah. And then Delphine goes to take care of business.
We have a question from Alicia Perez on the hashtag. Do you think Delphine would have gone along with killing Shay if Cosima didn't call?
I mean, I was thinking about this a lot. And I feel like Delphine was prepared to kill Shay. Although a lot of me during it was wondering, is this just a tactic? Is this a tactic to make it talk? But I don't know, the look on her face, and I've never seen Delphine look and act like this. I think she was prepared to go all the way.
I don't think she would have killed her if only because she would have thought that Shay had information. But we've seen at the beginning of this season when she was, hurting Rachel, when Rachel was unable to defend herself, we've seen that she's fully capable of torturing someone. So I think she was prepared to torture Shay. I don't think she was necessarily planning on killing her, though.
I think she was going to kill her. I think she was going to kill her to, protect all of the clones and out of, an act of love for Cosima.
Yes.
And, yeah, just super protective and, also sort of in her own...
Well, she's kind of on a power trip with all this stuff and her new position and everything.
That, but I don't know. I think she has this sense of I should not have let this gone so far.
Yeah.
Even though Cosima has been giving her a lot of pushback.
I should have dealt with you the second I suspected you.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. So she's mad at herself for second guessing or going along with whatever.
Well, she probably feels bad for a lot of things because she didn't want to break up with Cosima in the first place, but felt she had to in order to do her job. And so she probably feels bad that she broke up with Cosima because Cosima wouldn't have been with this person if she hadn't broken up with her.
Yeah, there's a level of responsibility.
She probably feels responsible for a lot of things involved in all this.
She loves Cosima so much she's willing to kill. She's willing to kill. We all need a Delphine in our life.
That's real love, guys. If you're not willing to kill for them, then move on.
Helena levels of love, right?
Yeah, exactly. Helena's another person who will kill out of love.
Or to get a refund.
Yes, which I can't wait to get to that part. But, so she's in there with her dyad goons, and then we find out, and this was the thing that really surprised me, that it turns out the mole was Gracie.
Yeah.
And I'm kicking myself for not thinking this because it was so right under our nose, but Gracie was so unassuming and so, she just seemed so glad to be around people and then
people who didn't judge her or make her feel bad every step she took.
And early in the episode, you knew Gracie was leaving to go somewhere, and I was thinking it was to meet up with Mark because the way she says goodbye to Helena, it's the extra long hug, and then when she calls Cosima and confesses that it was her who sold him out to Castor, it makes perfect sense. She had the motive; it could help save the man she loves, again out of love.
I was just confused as to why Mark would be with these people in the first place. Because he found out with Paul what was going on. Does he think he can fix it from the inside? Does he have no other choice because he'll eventually glitch out too? Why? Why are you still with these awful, terrible people?
It was a way back to Gracie also.
He could have found a way. He's a smart, resourceful guy.
I don't think it's a way back to Gracie. I think two things. I think one, there's a possibility that he was just captured there since the night that Paul died. May he rest in peace.
R.I.P.
That half of the compound was blown up, and there were already very few people there, and so it's possible that just the right people found him right around then, and he just wasn't able to escape. But also, he might glitch out, and this is his best chance to survive.
Yeah, if he leaves, he's going to be hunted down by the rest of Castor and the military, but if he's still with them, he's like undercover clone. So he might as well stay there, and this did bring him back with Gracie. And look,
now they have the book, which ultimately can crack the code, of their genetic problem. And although they are still missing, valuable DNA.
Yeah, exactly. They're still missing some things here, but my favorite moment of the episode and my favorite Delphine moment was she is ready to kill Shay. She's gonna slice the artery on her foot, which I guess that's the way you do it.
You have to get them all. You know, you've got to get the wrist and the metatarsals.
Get everything going there.
Got to cover all your bases, right?
Yeah.
But then Cosima's like, oh, I've made a horrible mistake. And she calls Delphine, and the way Cosima calls her, she's like, hey, she's basically like, hey, how's it going? And the look on Delphine's face, the way she rolls her eyes, like, I'm a little busy right now, was priceless to me.
I'm getting ready to murder somebody. Can this wait?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's lucky she even picked up the phone, quite frankly.
Well, this scene begs the question that a couple people on the hashtag are wondering about. If you want to go ahead and...
No, you go, because I don't even know what you're referring to.
Oh, no, just the comments that right there. Jamie Willis Rose on Twitter says, we didn't see Delphine not kill Shay.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Just saying. And a lot of other people are wondering, Hannah Fitz is wondering, we didn't see what happened. We just see Delphine twirling the blade in her hands. So we don't necessarily know if Shay escaped unscathed.
But we do know, because... Spoiler alert. She's seen the previews next week.
Oh, well, maybe these people don't watch the previews.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to stay fresh.
Spoiler alert.
Okay.
I didn't see the preview, so it sounded plausible to me.
Yeah.
Well, it felt like
plausible.
a red herring that they just wanted us to think the way she was from the. Then also there's the old thing of.
Well, and again, because of all those personal feelings, she's probably still mulling it over in her mind, like, no one would have to know.
I mean, she could have been like, it was too late. I already killed her.
Yeah.
Let's get back together. I should have never broken up with you.
Yeah.
Let's just put all this behind us.
Okay, but let's be honest here. The Shay relationship can't go on after this. I mean, if I'm dating someone only a few weeks, I don't know how long this has been, and all of a sudden their ex comes in and is going to murder me because I told them they might be a spy, you can't keep dating that person.
Well, she might not necessarily blame Cosima for that, and she is a she's a member of the military. She is possibly a trained killer with all that.
But listen, there's not a chance that the new person you're seeing, their ex shows up at your house, tells you to take off
razor
your
blades.
shoes, starts running a bath, and is threatening to slit your metatarsal veins, and you're like, it's cool. So you come with a little baggage.
Well, you know what? This could happen. Maybe she wasn't involved with Castor before, but now she's like, okay, I'm going to call in all my military buddies because you guys are freaking crazy.
Well, let me tell you what. If she
need to be stopped.
If Shay does stay with Cosima, then she's definitely some sort of mole or spy, because the only reason you stay at this point is to gain information, to be undercover. Because I'm, but then again, there are still questions about Shay's background, and I guess, in all honesty, we won't know until those come out why she may or may not stay with Cosima.
Because we know nothing about where she came from or who she really is. So she could very well easily just be, like I said, it could possibly be that she's not somebody to be trusted.
Well, I still think there's something fishy about her, and I want to see Delphine and Cosima. I want those crazy kids back together. Delphine has never been better.
Now kiss.
Yeah, now I just want them.
I kind of like to see the three of them together. I just feel like it would be...
Well,
there's just so much emotion between the three of them, It might be very passionate.
The French love lovers.
That's what I was thinking.
That's how they could smooth this all over. Well, I'll tell you what, I will not complain if that's what they do either. Yeah, that seems like a fun scene.
Hate sex can be great sex.
This will be in my Orphan Black fanfic that I'm going to start writing.
And the creators read that stuff, so guys, get to writing.
He's already got so many
I've already
notes.
got all. This is that whole story. This is well, we got to get to our other favorite people, the Hendrixes.
We should have a theme song so we can play that sound cue.
I know. I don't. If someone could get it by the last week.
Boop. That's our Donnie.
Special guest star Helena.
It's a work in progress.
Helena Helena is fully integrated into this family now.
I love Donnie called her part of the family.
She called her part of the family, which fits into what some people predicted, that the Hendrixes every season murder someone. And now that Helena's part of the family, I think it counts. This counts as the Hendrix murder for the season.
Somebody tweeted at us earlier. It was a picture of when Allison let Ainsley die, and then a picture of Helena walking out of the building earlier today. It's the same vest, and they're like the murder vest.
Yeah. And I love nothing more than Helena dressed in Allison's clothing. And I'm sorry.
It's so good. And what kind of like mousse or gel is she like putting just at the top of her head? It's so good.
It's Helena trying to be suburban, and I love it. And the most adorable shot in the history of the show, maybe in the history of television, is when they look out the peephole, when the Portuguese drug dealers, crime lords, look out the peephole, and Helena's there as Allison, just... and her eyes are in. She's got that kind of fisheye thing because it's a peephole.
It's so cute.
Oh my
she
God.
actually looks like she's doing a good job of imitating Allison. And probably my favorite line from this entire episode is they're like, "Why do you sound like that?" And she's like, "I have cold." And he's like, "Yeah, it's one of those really bad colds that affects your syntax."
Yeah.
And
totally a thing.
This is, I know last week Matt was a little disturbed by the idea of Donnie and Helena together, but I've already seen people like, I never thought I would be shipping Donnie and Helena.
I still don't ship them.
I don't either.
I take it at face value for what Donnie said. She's part of the family.
I agree.
I do not see it in a romantic light at all. I just think it's really sweet that Helena finally feels like she's a part of it.
But they do make a fun team together.
They do.
I am not... Right now, I'm on the same page with you, and I mean, I
But
really
you're open
love...
to the possibility.
I am open to the possibility, and here's why. Helena takes care of Donnie in a way that Allison has never.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
Donnie is basically Allison's employee, or manservant.
She wears the
know.
pants in the relationship.
Yeah, but not just she wears the pants. It's like, Donnie, do this. Make sure you stop by the store. Like, I need you, whatever. Like,
Allison is a very pushy person, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, she just makes a lot of demands, so, when was the last time, like, Allison homemade some sort of salve to put on Donnie's wounds? That has never happened. Give me a break. She hot glue guns him. Like,
To be fair, he was spying on her.
That's true, and she was paranoid.
For years and years and years. Their entire relationship, he's been spying
Yeah, Donnie
on her.
still does have a lot to make up for with those years, but I think it is going to be a sweet thing. But there is something to what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you definitely have a
I
point.
mean, and I think that's why some people are suddenly like being like, maybe these two should get together, because they feel there is a genuine like warmth that Helena is giving that Allison doesn't.
You know what it is? It's Helena's good with kids, and Donnie is.
He's a
And
big kid.
That's the other thing, is that she takes care of their kids in a way that Allison and Donnie have never. So he might look at that and say,
that's true. Most of Allison's interactions with the kids are usually shooing them away,
get
or
out of here,
bustling them into a car.
Get out of here! Don't look at the pills I'm selling.
I totally would buy that Allison would kill for her kids.
Yes,
like 100%. She would kill for Donnie and her kids.
Yeah, I believe Allison would. Allison, I think I buy that she would kill for a lot of people. Actually,
totally. I buy that Allison would kill on like a dare.
Well, so Jason basically, after his fight with Donnie, Jason basically said to Pouchy that he does no longer vouches for him. So the henchman came to go get the pills, which were not there, but instead, and this was a little convenient too, that he takes the canister with Helena's bebes.
As soon as he did that, I was like, oh, they're dead.
Yeah,
they are all gonna die.
And when Donnie tells this to Helena, the way she grabs that knife, but Helena's gone down a different path. She's not gonna kill. She's a mother.
I love that she's like, no, I live different life now, because she's like teaching the little girl how to like gouge somebody's eyes out. She's like, you are strong, you are a warrior. This is how you subdue enemies.
So Donnie needs to bring the pills for Pouchy, and I don't know what Donnie's thinking, that he thinks he's going to get a refund. I mean, this fits into, but that's typical Donnie behavior of like not realizing that crime doesn't work like the rest of the world works, and
I'll just go get a refund and everything will be copacetic.
I've got a receipt. No big deal.
But to be fair, Donnie puts priority on getting Helena's babies back.
Yes.
So
My babies.
Donnie,
he's willing to walk away without a refund as long as, Helena has what she needs.
yeah. And Donnie walks in there, and, he tells Helena, which is the right move. Helena should stay outside. And he goes in, but Helena does not want to wait. After some small talk, after he finds out he's not getting the refund, Helena comes in, that great moment we already said. And then the Portuguese mafia made the mistake that the Portuguese mafia always makes. They threaten the children. And at that point,
Let's not paint the entire Portuguese mafia
as kid killers.
Yeah, they're always doing that. That Portuguese mafia threaten the kid. I don't think we should make those generalizations.
Fair enough. I apologize to any Portuguese mafioso who was out there.
They watch those shows.
That's true. I'm a big fan.
Although I will say that this is an interaction I was never expecting when we were first introduced to these drug dealers in the in the very first season. I never thought they would cross paths with Helena in any capacity whatsoever. So this was a really kind of, I don't want to say satisfying way to kind of wrap up that particular drug dealer storyline that's been there the entire time. But you threaten children around Helena, that's what's gonna happen.
I mean, even when she was with the Perlethians, even they were mean to a little girl Helena never even had met before that day, and she was choking the midwife or whatever.
Yeah, and to Helena's credit, she was going to let them walk away, even though they had kidnapped her children because they returned them safely.
She's walking
she was going to let them walk away, and then they had to cross a line.
Yeah. Now, I assume Helena gets a much bigger refund. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming she just took every dollar on the premises, which has got to be at the least hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I assume now the Hendrixes are out of the drug business. Their suppliers are all dead. They've got money. It's probably a good move to get out of the drug business at this time. But how is Jason going to react? Because basically his business, I assume, is now screwed because the Hendrixes' hit woman went in there and butchered everyone, basically. Well, that's how he's going to see this.
I was also wondering what Jason was hoping to accomplish by, saying that he takes away his vouching for them, because it's he still wants Allison. It's how exactly were you going to, was he planning on swooping in and
blaming
being
Donnie?
Don't worry, I'll vouch for you, Allison. I won't vouch for him. He'd be some sort of white knight in that scenario.
He was waiting for Donnie and Allison to have the fight where she's like, what are we going to do now that we're out of the money and the pills, and how dare you? Why would you screw this up like this? And then he was going to swoop in.
Fault.
Yeah. He was going to swoop in, not only to save the day for her financially and with her drug business, but also to be hey, Donnie sucks and I don't, But now,
I don't know if you know, I won that fight.
Yeah. Sure, if you heard. But now, Donnie's going to have, some killer line, who's the bitch now, He's going to say, it'll be better than that. But.
I mean, I cannot wait for whatever interaction he has with Allison in the next episode. I mean, that's going to be... And, I mean, I wonder if they're going to know... Because, there were cameras in that place. They had... Because you see them looking at the... Is Jason going to go, at some point, find this footage and think it was Allison, killing people? Because she's dressed Because on a black
I've never been more attracted to this woman than I am right now.
On a black and white, high-angle monitor, it's going to look like...
I'm guessing that they don't keep cameras in their drug lair.
Well, I mean, they were looking at... you're going to see people who came in and out, though.
Yeah, sure.
So there will at least be that. So maybe he doesn't see her butchering people, but she's going to see that...
Out, she's got her hair down now, and it's bright blonde, curly hair.
But she does still come covered in blood and with a knife, which is... not the best move.
But Helena's even joking about it afterwards. They won't be coming for the refund. She's laughing.
They won't be coming for change.
Yeah, they won't be coming for change, yeah. Oh, man. Well, that, that seems like so if anyone has anything they want to add before I know you wanted to say some iTunes things before we get to predictions.
I wanted to do some iTunes shout outs. We've got Support the Orphan Black AfterBuzz by Sci-Fi Taurine. Any fan of Orphan Black will surely love the AfterBuzz podcast. Like the show, the AfterBuzz podcast is intelligent, quirky, funny, and at times shockingly inappropriate, and that's perfectly fine.
Yes.
My first and favorite AfterBuzz. I have seen / listened to plenty of AfterBuzz TV recaps, but you always remember your first AfterBuzz. This was my first and still my favorite. It does not hurt that this was my favorite show. The panel is also best on ABTV, although shout out to that Zach Wilson's Grimm panel. Glad the band, Will, Matt, Anna, and Megan is back together now. Oh.
We had two glorious weeks together. It was a great run.
Yeah. Yes, by JB97.9. Great podcast. Matt is the best and makes every show fun to listen to. Matt, will you please do Halt and Catch Fire podcast again, please? And then Can't Get Enough Episodes Quickly by Amelia Cat. Can't get the most recent episode June 9th, not downloading. But she gave us a 5-star rating.
Hey, that's good. That's what we like here.
So basically, get it together, iTunes.
Exactly.
But thank you guys so much. You are all so sweet.
So with that, let's get some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Megan, would you like to begin?
I think that we shouldn't count Shay out as being completely trustworthy. I don't think she's in the clear. I think we're going to get a little bit more of Gracie and Mark. Well, because next week is the
last one.
finale.
Is all the plot lines are going to converge
and here
somehow.
I am like, sometime down the line. Since it's the season finale now, I did not see the preview, so I have no idea what is actually coming. But this is when stuff comes to a head. I mean, Sarah and the rest of the crew are going to try to get Mrs. S's mom back over to the States so that they can fix Cosima, so that Cosima doesn't relapse and die. I think that's going to be the main concern is, okay, how do we get this person from here to here?
They just have to kill her, right, and bring back the tissue. They don't have to have her alive, do they?
Mrs. S should have pointed that out. I think you're right. But you know what?
We just need samples.
No,
it's probably... Oh, I don't know. I don't know how any of this science actually works, but I would think you're right.
Yeah. Well, they dug up that little tiny body. Baby body.
Here's the thing. You would be right, assuming they get it right on the first try. So,
does that stuff go bad?
With bringing her alive, you have an infinite supply of at least Lita DNA. I imagine that since she swallowed her twin in the womb or whatever, absorbed him, swallowed it. that is limited. But so Castor DNA is limited, but Lita DNA, as long as blood is pumping through her veins, you have an unlimited supply. So as long as she has bone marrow, that will come back. So it's an infinite resource in case you don't get it right on those first couple tries.
Okay.
Or in case you need a couple different bone marrow transplants, since she doesn't want to keep harvesting Kira.
Also, it's probably easier to smuggle in a live human being than a dead body back to the States.
She has a big web of people,
It's true.
A really big web of people that is really hard to keep track of.
Right. True.
Anna.
Okay. I believe Mark and Gracie are going to somehow, save the day.
I think that too.
Yeah, that they're gonna see, this is a terrible thing going on, and Mark is sort of on our side. Gracie's been brought into our side, so I think they're going to team up. I hope so too.
I don't want to dislike Gracie, because I don't, even after she betrayed them, I don't dislike her. I feel for her.
I get why she did what she did.
Yeah.
I understand it. It's both surprising and not surprising.
Yeah, it's just sad because Mark is currently with the people who sold out Paul and ultimately plotted Paul's downfall.
I've been saying all season that I think Mark is going to have some major redemptive moment, and I think now that he's gotten back with his wife, that I think, I worry that maybe it's going to be like they get one last great moment together before something he might even have to sacrifice himself in some way. He might start
Paul.
He might start glitching. I mean, Rudy's already glitching now, so you never know.
You never do. I think Marion and Charlotte are going to make a reappearance.
I'd like that.
And I think Ferdinand is going to be pointed in the direction of Crystal, but think that it's Rachel and like lose his mind and just start assassinating people at topside left and right.
I think that's definitely going to come into play. I mean, I think they're going to figure it out in this episode that that's not.
I disagree, but granted, I haven't seen the preview, so I could be completely wrong. I still think Rachel is the one that tipped him off about London in the first place.
Oh, that's true.
So I think that, especially because Rachel's out there in the world now, she's going to tap into every resource that she has, and Ferdinand does align with her. Okay. So that's my guess. That's my guess.
There's been a lot of people talking about how someone might die in this final episode. Like, possibly, a lot of people keep talking, is Cosima gonna die? Is Delphine gonna die? Do you think, I mean, this has been rumors for a while. I think it's another red flag. I don't think either of them are gonna die. I think they're both gonna make it through this season.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be terrible if Mrs. S's mom died, though? Because then that's it for Castor and Lita DNA.
Oh.
Nah, or just pull her blood in her bone marrow and her teeth. It'll be fine.
You get those, but again, finite resources that can be stolen.
As we wrap up here, one more question.
Or destroyed.
Who wins the election?
Come on, Team Allison! Go Team Hendrix!
I'm assuming. Oh, you thought the presidential election?
Well, I just like because Jeb Bush announced today.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that took a turn. Yeah, Allison, obviously.
I'm on the. I think it's going to be Hendrix. I'm voting Hendrix.
Yeah, that's her storyline next season, no question.
That she is running the. Yeah, that she's school.
She's gonna She's gonna climb the political ladder, guys. It's gonna be a thing. She'll be president one day.
Prime minister.
Oh, that's right. It's Canada.
Parliamentary system. Megan, where can the people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at @themenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I've started writing articles for the Movie Chick with 2 Ks, and we're actually doing another Movie Chick quick review tonight on Popcorn Talk, so be sure to tune in for that.
Fun. Well, you can follow me at Koppel from Air, KOPPELFORMAYOR.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I just did a thing for Popcorn Talk. I was on Anatomy, a movie for Spy, which was a lot of fun. I hope to do it again, and go check that out, definitely. And you can also listen to my podcast, Will Sean Podcast. You can find that on iTunes and find out if we actually podcasted. We did.
I'm also doing Black Tea Party this Friday. I've never done it before. I'm very excited.
What is it?
It's like a political discussion on BHL. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Yay. So, thank you so much. We will see you next week for the season finale of Orphan Black.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Clown you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.